Let's talk about 3D printers. Over the past 5 years, there's been a marked increase in 3D printed gun violence across many US cities, but more specifically in 20 which have reported 1,000% increase over the past 5 years. Now most of these are only single to double digit increases, but that has still been enough to grab the attention of several lawmakers across 4 states to put in motion several bills to regulate not just the 3D printed guns, but the 3D printers themselves. Most of these bills across California, Colorado, New York, and Washington are calling for preprint software to be integrated into the printer so that it will identify whether or not a model contains any gun stuff, whether it be gun parts, a full 3D printed gun, and such. Now, unfortunately, a 3D printer does not print directly from a 3D model. What has to happen first is the 3D model is first threaded through a slicer, which converts that into G-code, which is geometrical data, XYZ, temperature for the extruder, and how fast the filament flows through the extruder. That's all it is. So for the model to be identified on the printer, it would have to take that G-code, recompile it into what the model would be, and identify it from there. The other option would be to integrate the slicer directly into the 3D printer. Now this is a problem because to use a slicer, it takes a decent amount of computing power, so you would have to have at least a low-end laptop's worth of hardware crammed into a 3D printer. This is an issue because it raises the prices, but also that means that any infrastructure that's out there now is not going to be able to do it without an upgrade. Now, both California and Washington's bills require 3D printers to have preprint software to evaluate whether a file is safe to print, but Washington goes further, saying that this software cannot be circumvented by somebody with significant technical ability. Now, as stated before, what it uses is the G-code, which is just the positional data, heat, and speed of extrusion. The problem with this is that no matter the software, if what is used for the 3D printer is just X, Y, Z, how fast, how hot, you can absolutely find a way to circumvent that process, no matter the software, by just hardwiring in your own input. In effect, this law not only makes illegal all of the 3D printers out there in Washington, but foreseeably any other 3D printer that would come into existence. Now, besides this logistical issue, there also is an issue with the fact that you are giving whatever monitoring software, algorithm, database a backdoor into either your computer or your printer. Now, California's bill does not say anything about seeking out. It is more a static database that will be added to by whoever has control of that from a list of restricted or bad models. However, Washington's goes further in saying that the algorithm must actively seek out and discover modified versions and new models. Now, it's not stated how they were going to go about doing this, but there are really 2 options, which is A, it scrubs 3D model databases for them, or B, monitors the files on your computer to search out new ones, both of which are a massive security risk for privacy. On top of this, California has said that there will be no reimbursement for any of the printers out there currently. That means that any schools or STEM projects that recently bought or even previously bought 3D printers will not get any compensation. To sum it all up, this is a PSA to those not in the know, so that they might understand why this is such an issue. It is not because we like 3D printed guns or we want to commit crimes. It is because the way in which these bills are worded and the content of them are centered around impossible requirements and privacy invasion. That is the main issue. So anyways, thanks for listening and thank you for your time.